Stalking isn't just a violation, it's a theft of peace, safety, and freedom. But here's the truth. Survivors are not defined by their trauma. They are defined by their strength. At Confronting Domestic Violence, we empower survivors to rise above, offering resources, education, and advocacy to help them not just survive, but thrive. This Stalker Awareness Month, it's your turn to make an impact. Your support fuels the movement to create a world where every survivor knows they're never alone. Let's rewrite the story. Visit and donate today. Together, we're not just raising awareness, we're building a legacy of empowerment.
We are so thankful for you guys being here, and we are going to just say hello and introduce ourselves. I am Nicole Borghi, and I am the Confronting Domestic Violence Chairwoman. And the two gorgeous gals behind me, I'd be the one over my right shoulder here, and then there's CJ right behind me, and look, in her tiara, of course, the queen status, and then to the left in the purple is Agape. We were there at the Confronting Domestic Violence event, and that's what kicked it off in Del Mar, was meeting these wonderful people live and in person to say, hey, we really need to propel this even further, and we really need to get out there and say hello, welcome to Healthy Hearts, Healthy Futures. Just how can we share this knowledge? And good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. I am so excited to welcome you to today's workshop, and it's about teen dating violence awareness and prevention. And I know we're all a little bit older than teenage years, even though our avatars don't show the wrinkles, but it's about how can we work this out in a community, and how can we talk and bring the conversation out there. And I know what you're thinking, another serious talk about relationships, because the 14th is tomorrow. And hey, if you're single or you're out there, you're looking for healthy relationships, we need to know how to have healthy relationships, because I myself was not the greatest at it. And so how do we build that trust? And so it's not your typical lecture here. We're doing some Q&A. We're having some discussion. We're breaking up the room, and we want to know, how do you have the real talk? How do you have real conversations? You just have the conversation, and that's why we scheduled it here. And so we will appreciate any feedback at the end of this today, and maybe a little laugh. I always like to keep it light because it is a heavy topic, but if we don't talk about the elephant in the room, how do we keep the zoo, right? And so, because let's be honest, dating today isn't about love notes and movie dates anymore. It's texts, Snapchats. You got to read the receipts, and let's not forget accidentally liking someone's post from way back when, 2012, and they're going to want to hold it and linger on you. So there is a data footprint that you are creating out there, and we've all been there. Maybe you like the wrong person's post, or hey, maybe the African king has been sliding into your DMs. What do we do about that? But here's the deal. Dating can be exciting. It can also be safe, healthy, and empowering for you. And whether you're online, you deserve respect, privacy, and trust. And today we're diving into signs of healthy versus unhealthy relationships, setting boundaries, and staying cyber smart in a world where they should never feel like the big brother out there. And we want to look at that. And we've got powerful discussions today, engaging activities, and even some virtual reality videos from Sanzar. Was going to put that in there, and we could talk about cybersecurity. It didn't go through that well, but hey, we're talking about tech, and tech is not always your bestie at all times, especially when you need it. So that BFF of tech, this is how we get around it. And so if you think it's just for teens, it's not. It's for parents, teachers, mentors, and you need this information too. So if you're ready to level up and your dating and digital safety, let's get started. And so folks, if you want to introduce yourself, because we've got a few minutes, and say hello, you can come to the mic, just to know that this is recorded. And if you don't want us to use your likeness, that's okay. Just let me know and I won't put it out there, because we want to share this information today. So we'll go around the room, and hey, Miss Agape, you're off the mic. So why don't you come on up? And I love those red glasses. Those are amazing. Introduce yourself.
Oh, thank you so much. Agape Garcia here, founder of Confronting Domestic Violence, and based on a personal experience. I survived a double attempted homicide while 8 months pregnant, 1,000 miles away from home. And now I am living my life, dedicating my life, and committing my life to helping others by bridging gaps. Meaning, when that happened to me 20 years ago, I did not know where to go. I just kept getting 1-800 numbers, getting 1-800 numbers, probably made over 1-800 number phone calls. And finally, after, I don't know, easy, maybe 9 months, I finally found an advocate. What I decided to do was put this nonprofit together to help real-time victims with real-time resources, eliminating all that time and effort spent just trying to find one person to help. So that's like the front end of our mission. And the second part of our mission is to help families relocate when they have a safe place to go and not the means to get there. All too often, parents leave the house with whatever they can carry on their back, maybe in the middle of the night, maybe if they have a car. Sometimes they have to leave everything behind or resort to homelessness just to feel safe with their child or children. As parents, protecting and providing is one of the most important things to us. And unfortunately, those are the options when you don't know what to do, where to go, or how to get there. So that's how and why Confronting Domestic Violence is in existence today.
Ah, thank you for that. Hey, those resources are out there. And thanks to the digital age, the good thing about the digital age today is that we can get our resources and our information anywhere and everywhere, and we can send that to you. And so we're here for you even after this event closes. And I'm going to save the best for last, CJ, because I know you're going to come up and talk. So, Miss Susanna Dawn, if you want to say hello, you're welcome to come on mic and just say hello.
Hey there, how's it going? Great to see you guys both earlier and now.
You're amazing. Thank you, Susanna, for being here and supporting. She is a great person in the community, and that's what we love about being part of this group here today is that we have people that are here to share. Mr. Charlie, I believe you came in next. Would you like to come up and just say hello?
Yeah, hello. Yeah, this avatar thing's cracking me up. Yeah, so I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner. I'm really passionate about women's rights and specifically I have a passion for offering entrepreneurship for women that have survived atrocities. I'll just leave it at that. And I'm just so honored to be here. And yeah, that's about it. I'm so sleep deprived right now. I'm like, I want to listen. So I'm just gonna just kind of step out. But yeah, that's me. It's nice to meet you.
Awesome. Part of why we introduce people, and Danielle, we're going to have you come up if you'd like to say hi. You're welcome to say hi. If not, that's okay too. We just want to introduce people and say, hey, we're a community. And in part of being the community, we introduce ourselves to each other and just identify who we are to some sense so we can have familiarity, whether you're an avatar on the virtual space or in human. Danielle, would you like to say hello?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Nicole. I'm honored to be here with my sisters, and I am a co-owner CEO of my own consulting firm, but also work for the government and really believe in social justice measures and leading with the heart and empathy. And as a survivor of sexual assault myself and growing up in a traditional Filipino home, and very religious, it was very difficult for me to grapple with what has happened to me and multiple times. So from someone who was supposed to love me. So this is actually the first time that I'm actually publicly sharing that. But it has been a journey, and that's why I do what I do, to lead with the heart and not be scared or fearful of reprisal or the repercussions from sharing my path and my story. So yeah, here I am. Thank you for having me, and so honored to be here.
Oh,
Can
wow.
I
Thank
can
you
I
for
interrupt
sharing
real
that.
quick? I'm sorry. I just want to just say that I was raised in a traumatic home, and that's what the pain I've had just leads to purpose. So I just wanted to thank you for being so transparent. I just wanted to let you know that I don't know, that's why I'm passionate about this. And I was raised by warrior women that have had like generational crap, right? And I just want to be a healthy male in women's lives. So just wanted to share that.
Thank you for sharing that. It's so amazing when people can share and have a place to talk. And that's what we are bringing here to light, is to say that we want to give you a place to be able to talk, be able to be in your heart space, and maybe pass it on, right? So the kindness is to pass it on and maybe relieve any of that tension. So you guys, thank you for being here. And this is what we're all about in this community. And I want to bring Dr. Dr. Leland up here today, because she is a teacher herself, right? A marketing strategist. And she is a whole bunch of, there's a long list of wonderful things that she has done and accomplished. And part of that is being here to support confronting domestic violence. And I've recently met her last year in October at the Del Mar Social, where we have this a picture behind me, where we have the ability to just chat and get to know each other and give a big warm hug. And it's not just about being in the virtual space, but it's about being face to face and the ability to talk with your sisters or your brothers and say, hey, we are a community and we all heal together. Healthy emotions and attitudes and relationships today. Yes, that is so true, Agap. Absolutely true. Healthy relationships and attitudes. So I want to just say, Dr. Leland, if you're ready, come on up, because you've got some wonderful things to share.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for allowing us to do this. It's actually really fun. I like the little avatars. It's something different. Sister Danielle and Susanna and I goes to Zoom all the time with my Zoom, and we play around avatars. So today, I love that we have a purpose, which is protecting our children in the digital age. And that's what I want to focus on today, about awareness, safety, and smart choices, right? Because let's face it, we don't want social media, but that is the currency of today's business. Our children are more connected more than ever before, because social media, online gaming, digital communication have become central to their social lives, right? And we want our kids to go outside and play, but as much as we want to, I don't even see kids play anymore. And I try to have my kids play, but they like to play guitars now. So I'm okay with that, right? I do love that they are raised in a household where we play video games all the time. But you also see people in the video game world that are questionable. Hopefully, these platforms not only offer incredible opportunities for learning and connection, but also the not so good connection. And I don't know how many of you guys are parents of little children, right? They come with serious risks, like phishing scams Agape was talking about today, online dating dangers, and exposure to online predators. They can pretend their whole entire lives that they're 15 when they're actually 52. And it's not going to be easy for you to take them out of that space when they have worked on these children for months, right? So as parents, it's our responsibility to stay informed and be proactive. So we have to teach our kids how to spot red flags. And I know Danielle has little children, so hopefully this will help with personal information, navigating online interaction safety, cyber criminals, like what Nicole was talking about. Predators often target children because they may be more trusting, making them very vulnerable to scams, identity theft, emotional manipulation, was Agape was talking about. But by educating our children of these risks, build awareness, and develop critical thinking skills to make them safe. I don't want you to go to fear mongering either. If you do this and think this is going to happen, right? Make sure it's appropriate conversation for appropriate age. But having that open communication is really key so that your children can feel comfortable and not judgy from parents, right? Setting like digital boundaries, monitoring their screen time, especially if they're littles, and discussing those appropriate online behavior, what's not to do. Oh, don't send nudie pictures. Okay, let's just start there. I don't care if your kids are 7 or 8, they think it's just funny, but it's not funny when someone threatens to tell their family what they did. They know that it's wrong, right? So I'm going to share some platforms that I have used. Here's the first we talk about phishing real quick, right? What is phishing? It's not to catch fish, guys. It's to catch your children, okay? Or you as an adult. Now, phishing is when scammers try to trick kids into sharing personal information, passwords, or they don't have banks yet. But some adults, actually, I have a student in college that provided her bank details. And I'm like, why would you do that? They're like, oh, they're going to give me $10,000 for my scholarship. Whose scholarship? Did you talk to somebody about this? No, they're like via text. I'm like, okay, that's a scam, right? But they already got scammed $1,000. Social media credentials, often fake emails, messages, websites. I'm going to share that I actually almost got scammed last year. And I had a gut feeling that it was wrong. I was applying for a job and then the job replied with the same company. But the email was just getting weirder and weirder. I knew that was a scam in the middle of it. And I keep telling my sisters, I'm like, tell me if I'm wrong, right? So how do we teach kids to identify red flags when it comes to phishing? Look for spelling errors or urgent warnings or suspicious links. Like, oh, this is from Bank of America because my child now has Bank of America. I said, okay, look at the URL. Okay. When it actually does not say anything about bankofamerica.com and it has some other whatever, that's a scam, right? Don't log in to your email like that or click on anything because, or if they say, oh, you want a price or need to verify an account. No, you don't, right? And then do two-factor authentication, right? 2FAs. Most people will get their cell phone so they can get a code, right? If you are working international with a developer, so I'm working right now with a developer, he always has to ask me what my code is to log into my dashboard, right? Because I know that it's him. If it's somebody else is asking, it's something else. And if you feel really weird, don't be afraid to change your password and then tell them, look, it looks suspicious to me. So can you go on a camera right now just to see and verify? Always verify people on camera, what they look like, rather than just doing this avatar, right? Especially if you're working with money. And all of your banks and all the people actually do not verify. Here's another thing that I'm going to tell you that I use with my children. Have passwords. So some people are like, what do you mean, CJ? So when the kids were little, I used to pick them up, and sometimes one of my friends, that mom friends, would pick them up. We have passwords and we change them. So let's say, for example, hey, CJ's kid, Bella, I'm here to pick up you because your mom's in the hospital. And Bella's, what? Most kids will just hop in because they know the story, they know the background, they've studied your social media. But what they don't know is that we have a family password, right? And we change it every month, by the way. So what I do is I say, hey, Bella, if anyone else asks you to do anything, they need to know the password, and this is the password. And if Bella does not trust them and they don't know the password, I said, if they him and ha and question the password and they said, don't worry about the password, run back inside and tell your teacher and call 911 right away because they don't know you. I would say, yeah, create passwords for your kids. If someone tries to pick them up, someone tries to give them puppies or candy, whatever it is, it could be their coach, it could be anybody. Make sure you have passwords. Now, I'm going to share a couple of, links. I'm just going to name them for now on the things that I actually use on my kids, right? My first one, I was definitely a helicopter mom. But have you guys heard of Life 360? This is on location tracking and family safety, right? If you're not sharing a family on iPhone, you can actually share locations, right? But if you don't share locations, Life 360 actually has that location tracking. But here's another thing. How many of you guys right now actually have Snapchat? Anybody? Snapchat? Let me see what the chat said. Anybody has Snapchat in here? Nobody has Snapchat? Really? That's surprising. But Danielle, right? So here's the thing. If you allow your children to have cell phones and they are on Snapchat, that's stalker heaven because people actually, some of your kids want to have more friends online. And guess what? They can track you exactly where you live, where your kids go to school, who their friends are, who they're hanging out, what food did they eat, what day, where is the hangout. Everything about your children is on Snapchat because they have a map exactly where to go. So if your kids have Snapchat or your neighbor's kids have Snapchat, make sure to tell them, delete everybody that you don't know. They won't do it though, right? So you got to make sure because it will literally, you have to have that conversation. By the way, people could be stalking you and you don't know because some of these phishing scams, they'll put pictures like, oh, I'm 15. Again, there might be 52 years old in there. Another one is called Norton Family. It's great for filtering websites and monitoring online activity. Google Family Link also have that. It's free option for Android users to monitor the usage and set limits. Another one is M-Spy. It literally tracks calls, messages, GPS locations, and then they have more advanced monitoring. There's also Net Nanny, which blocks inappropriate content and provides real-time alerts for parents. Quote Studio, it's Qustodio. They offer web filtering. So if they're filtering like what's the good place to whatever, right? It also do screen time control and location tracking is what I look for in an app, is because in case that your children get snapped, okay, taken, you know where the last location is and you can ping and triangulate it. And then, of course, number one out there is called Bark. They monitor the text messages, social media, and web browsing. But literally, okay, there's also privacy laws, right? But when they're under the age of 18 and they're in your household and they're in your family, you need to have that conversation. Don't make me not trust you by looking at your messages, right? Have that conversation because you want to give them trust. You want to build that trust with your family. But sometimes kids are a little sneaky and you just check on them and see, but know that they know you're tracking them, right? To make sure that they know. Another one is Kaspersky. Kaspersky is safe for kids. They track web activity, manage screen time, and monitors location. There's an app called Discord. How many of you guys know Discord? Me. Okay. Discord, most kids will get that. Their school actually banned Discord because their teacher, one of their music teacher was having inappropriate conversation and she said, "Oh, they were my kids' friends." Her daughter is friends with other kids in the class and they had a conversation and then she had a party for her kids. It was not alcoholic or anything like that. They had a pizza party. But for some reason, maybe she built rapport with the kids that went in the sleepover. And she continued the conversation on Discord. And some of the kids were not smart enough. They used Discord in their school computers. The IT guys saw it and said, "What are these?" And so she got fired on the spot, right? Who uses WhatsApp in here? You guys use WhatsApp for your business? Anybody? WhatsApp is good because you can, okay, so you know how you're like, don't share your passcodes, blah, blah, blah. It can be, guess what? WhatsApp actually is a nice app that most government employees use. They probably won't tell you that because it's encrypted. The wall is very strong and it's encrypted and you can have a disappearing messages on there. Although it's good for you, it might not be good for your children. Does that make sense? Because the text messages that you're trying to track is no longer there because it disappeared, right? So you got to watch all of these things. It's called WhatsApp because you got to do privacy settings, contacts only, right? You also need to make sure that they can't click on those links, attachments, unknown messages because those are phishing scams. And then again, the most important thing is having that open conversation with your children, right? Because Bark actually tries to go through the web filtering, it's like certain words and things like that. But WhatsApp is so strong that you can literally share your password with your whatever and it disappears. It's gone. And the reason I know that's because I know somebody who's in the AI business, really high up there, and uses WhatsApp. And I'm like, why are you giving your passwords in WhatsApp? What's wrong with you? Like, they're like, CJ, it's encrypted wall to wall. I've already checked back and forth and loopholes, and it disappears. You're fine. I'm like, oh. So that's when I knew that WhatsApp actually is very strong and it has a disappearing messages that you don't actually will find and you can't find it anymore. It just pretty much goes away. So those are some of the apps that I would share. But also the most important thing is just having that conversation with your children, having a password. I know it's so sad, but today, if you go to Walmart and somehow your kids disappear and they have their phone, you're like, oh yeah, it's fine. But they don't have a password. Have them memorize their address, where they live, memorize your phone number, not just, oh, it's on my phone. No, have your kids memorize your phone, your full name, your address. In case they do get taken, they know exactly where you are, what address, what city that you're in. But always have that password if you have other people picking up your kids or even pretending, have that conversation when your kids are little, right? These are all preventative that I sure hope and pray that it never happens to any of our children. But if it does, you know that the password is actually for the people, not for your phone, okay? And that is all I have for you today. Thank you guys so much for being here and supporting Agape for confronting domestic violence.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. That's amazing. What great information that you've given today, CJ. Do you have time to take a Q&A or a few minutes?
Yes.
Okay, so guys, if you have any questions for CJ, please either put it in the chat or get on your mic.
Oh my gosh, I have so many questions for CJ. First, I want to say thank you so much for providing all of this information, education, resources. Wow. I want to know if I could have your permission to utilize what you put together with all of this stuff that you provided us today and put it on our website. You're a part of CDB, you're a board member, and the information you just shared is really amazing. It was very educational. I was even surprised by how many different apps are out there to really help protect and monitor to keep a healthy relationship between parent and child, and then really feeding the child the resources. This is beautiful.
Thank you, Agape. Yeah, my husband used to actually use K9 web protection, and the developer discontinued it. It was through Blue Coat. He used to work for Blue Coat. So that's how we got it. But K9 web protection was really amazing because it would send an alert to our phone if they have conversations longer than an hour. Like we could filter all the words and stuff like that. But they discontinued it because not a lot of people actually bought the K9, and to support it was so expensive. So that's why they have all of these like Bark and things like that. Bark actually is the number one monitor social media text and online activity for safety threats for children. But again, for me, it's like having that conversation of intentionality with your kids without pushing it on their throat and make it like a fun thing. And definitely having a password. Nowadays, if you have little children, having a password to that conversation, like, hey, your mom's in an accident, I need to pick you up, like we need to go to the hospital right now, and you're like, who are you? Oh, I'm your mom, you're new. Especially moms like me who's like networking all the time, so my kids can't keep up with who my friends are, right? So that's how I created the passcode and password. They had never used it on anybody except for that one time. I don't think I've shared this with anybody, period. I don't even think I've shared it with Susanna, and she's my bestie. So I was part of a mom's club. I was part of the presidency and committee. And this mom actually, I didn't know she was in an abusive relationship. I will look up the last name, I forgot now, but it's really huge in DC. Her husband murdered her while the children was upstairs. And we had a meeting and she didn't show up. So I called her home. I called her son. I called everyone in her son's. I can't talk. Something happened to mom. And the dad is the one who murdered and put it away because they were going through a divorce and he didn't want to pay her $2 million. That's all it was. And it was very sad. And we didn't know that she basically were going through that domestic violence. And they had a court battle of who gets the kids because she had a 3-month-old or something at that time. And I shared with her about my password thing. And she actually shared it with her son. And I think his family tried to pick him up one time, and she has full custody of all the kids, right? And his sister, or basically his aunt, and her mom's, if they don't have the passcode, they can't pick you up. And the sister actually tried to pick up the son, and he asked for the passcode, and the aunt, there's no passcode, just come in the car right now. And he's no. And he went inside and basically called her, the mom, and the mom's no, they're not allowed. None of them are allowed. And then my son knows what to do. And she didn't share it to anybody, but we knew because I taught her about the passcode, and it helped get her son not be taken by the other family. So that's just one of those things that is something that we hope that our kids will never go through. But in case they do, you're being proactive.
Wow, that's great. CJ, thank you so much. Did you, by chance, did you put together something that we can put on the website that has all of those different apps and tools that you had mentioned on how to keep in touch with what your teen is doing? You listed so many great things. I was trying to jot them down. I said, oh my
Oh,
God.
no, I got you. I will put it together because I have a list, and I'll share it with you so you can put it on our CDB website.
Oh, thank you. And once you do, that will be under the resource tabs. I will be putting that under the tab that says resources.
Yeah. Oh, Susanna, you're right. Especially those dealing with domestic violence. Yeah, I think passcode it for human to human, not just on our computer, but passcode to human is important, right? Susanna, are you Susanna? You can't pick me up. What's a passcode? Seriously.
Wow.
Oh gosh, how great. What great information to share. Thank you, CJ. I know you're going to get ready to run out of here because you're teaching and you are a busy gal. So thank you so much. I just want to say before you leave, thank you for being here and being part of this and being part of the mission and the purpose of CDV, of confronting domestic violence. Thank you. Any last words?
No, just be happy and healthy out there. Love you guys and happy Valentine's. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Happy Valentine's. Lots of love. Hugs. Virtual hugs. Virtual hugs. Bye-bye. Lots of love. And that's what we're here about. And that's how you get to the point of love, is self-love and love in your community. And what a great way to spend time with people you love and sharing love. This is the way to do it. I am not a big holiday person. I'm definitely not a big Valentine's Day person. I think it's fun, but as a person who's been a waitress, the holidays are it's not the happy relationship time. So that's part of why when I say that I bring that and I laugh and snicker about it, it's Christmas. People aren't on their best behavior out in the world because they bring the pain and the emotion when they go shopping, when they go out to a restaurant, especially if they only go out on a date on certain, except if you're young and in love on that first date, right? That's always the best one because you look good, your hair's done, you got the wig on, the shoes on, everything looks good, and you're on your best behavior. But as days and time go by, that dynamic kind of changes. And so that's what we're here about with confronting domestic violence and just the teen dating violence awareness, is so we can raise happy, healthy kids. As a mother, I had tried my best to work with my child and to change my life so I can change her life. And I don't feel like I was a success. She did pass away a few years ago, and it was very traumatic, not only to me as a mother, but for her, what she went through as a teenager. And there's so much, such a large dynamic in it. And I will say, unfortunately, she was the perpetrator of the violence, and that's hard to watch. It's hard to watch in your own child, the sweet little princess that she was. So this is a part of my mission and my purpose to put this out here and to say, hey, we need to recognize what's going on, as it takes a village. But if you're hiding in your home, then you're not helping. And do the best that you can with what you have. And we forgive you for not supporting. But please don't go out there when there's a situation and start taking viral video. That's not the way to help the situation. Either say stop or call the police or call someone who can help, or to seek someone when the situation calms down, and to maybe talk to your neighbor and just say hello. It's not best to get in the middle of a situation or a violent situation because you too will become a victim. However, you do the best that you can and just befriend your neighbor, your brother, your sister, and your parents. Talk to people in your community and say hello. That's the best way. It's good customer service when you're networking. If you think of it as a business, that's part of business building, is to be part of the neighborhood watch, and not necessarily jump down someone's throat for everything bad that they've done, because maybe we should cancel ourselves sometimes for the things that we do. He who throws the first stone. So we just want to spread happiness and love. And that brings me to Miss Garcia. Are you ready to come? It is your turn to talk, love, and come up to the mic if you're ready, Freddie.
I have no choice. I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right, let me spotlight you. And guys, we will be putting, if you have any handouts, if you want to add that or I can share, just let me know what I need to share your stuff if you want me to, and I can do that. I did put a handout there in the chat, and we'll be sharing that online with resources as well. Go ahead.
All right, great. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for being here and just supporting us and what we're doing. I love it. I would like to start with some boring education. I'm just kidding. We're far from boring, but it is educational. And there's some statistics I would like to talk about before we dive right into this. I just want to give some facts. Nearly 1.5 million high school students nationwide experience physical abuse from a boyfriend or girlfriend in a single year. Okay, a single year. Girls and young women between the ages of 16 and 24 experience the highest rate of intimate partner violence, which is almost triple the national average. And violent behavior typically begins between the ages of 12 and 18. We were saying earlier on CJ's TV show that that's when the hormones are kicking in. That's when all of these uncontrollable life changes are occurring and our emotions are out of control because we don't have emotional intelligence yet at that time. Only 33% of teens who were in a violent relationship told someone about the abuse, and 81% of parents believes that teen dating violence is not an issue or admit that they don't know if it even is an issue. So I felt that those were pretty significant statistics and facts to share. Even I was surprised by some of those. So I just want to share that with you so you have some information, and we'll dive right into identifying healthy and unhealthy relationships, recognizing some unhealthy relationship patterns, and then getting help and offering help. So let's start with the crew that we have here. Our objective is to help teens differentiate between healthy and unhealthy relationship behaviors. So, just for us as adults, think about your definition of respect. What is your personal definition of respect? Because everybody has their own definition. And if we're not sharing what our definition is of respect, then our children are creating their own definition as well. So having that conversation with them so they can identify what respect is to them and for them. Same thing with trust, same thing with jealousy, same thing with control, and same thing with communication. Those 5 words, understanding the definition of those 5 words, if they're written out on a piece of paper and you take a moment to say, okay, what relationships do I have that are not in alignment with my definitions of respect, trust, jealousy, control, communication? What relationships are parallel with those definitions? Once you're able to identify that, then you are much more informed on that healthy versus unhealthy relationship. And then you have the opportunity to make a decision based on your in your face definition and person that is identified with that definition, right? Healthy or unhealthy. Now, dating violence can happen in any relationship, not just romantic or sexual context, okay? In an established relationship, it can happen, and on a first date, it can happen. Just think about a joke, somebody trying to be funny, but really it's demeaning, it's degrading, it's questionable. Verbal abuse is verbal abuse. Maybe you don't recognize that it's verbal abuse, or maybe you don't recognize that it's an unhealthy behavior because you're in the moment, you're sharing some excitement, you have a crush, or you have feelings towards this person. So it's a little blinding, right? Because when your emotions are involved, your logic can be a little tainted. So think about whenever somebody is saying something that comes across questionable, and take a moment to say, okay, why did I feel that way? Was that a negative trigger? Did I feel like it was something personal? Did I laugh? Was it not funny? Did I almost feel like it was insulting or just a little off color? These are the things that you start to ask yourself to learn more about you so that you can start creating the boundaries and thresholds of what you will or will not accept. People will respect you the way that they see you respecting yourself and or others. So that's a great way to teach people without using words on how to respect, is by showing them how you respect yourself. Okay. Dating violence also happens in monogamous relationships, polyamorous relationships, straight relationships, LGBTQ relationships. Domestic violence, dating violence does not discriminate. It can happen to anyone regardless of race, culture, age, religion, income, education level, gender, sexuality. It really doesn't matter. It does not discriminate. Okay. So a few exercises that I have, and if you guys want to just unmute yourselves or put it in the chat, relating to healthy and unhealthy again, right? So I'm going to give you a scenario, and this is something that you could do with the teens as well. My partner encourages me to spend time with friends and family. Is that healthy, unhealthy, toxic? I think it's healthy if my partner encourages me to spend time with my friends and family. Now, if they say something or ask me something that makes me feel guilty about doing it, that might raise the other eyebrow. That might be deemed unhealthy, which can turn into toxic. Are you feeling guilty on your own because you did it? Or are they saying or asking questions that's making you feel guilty about it? Those are some common themes, actually, when it goes to feeling pressured. How about that pressure? If someone feels pressure to respond to a text immediately and it doesn't happen, does your partner get upset? Are you questioned? Why you didn't answer the text? What were you doing that didn't allow you to answer the text? Where were you that you didn't answer the text? Who were you with that you didn't answer the text or the phone call or whatever? Like CJ was saying earlier, Snapchat, Instagram, all these different apps where you can communicate with folks. Where's that pressure coming from? Is it a space of a healthy relationship, an unhealthy relationship? These are things that you can ask yourself as well. And who's putting that pressure on you? Are you putting that pressure on yourself? Are they putting that pressure on you? Again, this is getting to know you and the ships that you are around to identify, do you want them in your life or not? How about trusting each other and respecting each other's privacy? CJ shared some things earlier today too about location. Who has your location? Who's asking you to share your location? Why do they want to see your location? Are they stalking you through cyber options, through these apps, through your just regular standard device? Why would somebody want to know every single step that you're taking and where you're going? Is that healthy? Is that unhealthy? Is it considered the norm? I have seen plenty of teenagers literally stuck on their phone just watching somebody's location. I'm chuckling. It's not funny, but it's odd behaviors to me. Because for me personally, if you trust, you wouldn't need to watch every 5 minutes or 10 minutes or on the half an hour. Where am I? What am I doing? And the two things that go hand in hand is when somebody has your location and you're sharing that location, and then now here comes the text messages and then the questions, right? I see where you're at. How come you're not answering my text? I see where you are. Who are you with? I see where you're going. Why aren't you responding? Healthy, unhealthy, toxic. These are all things that can and become something that falls under that domestic violence umbrella. Okay. What else do we have here? How about, I had mentioned jokes earlier, right? So if your partner puts you down and then says, it's just a joke. I didn't say that you're fat. I just said that shirt makes you look as if you're fat. Okay, what? How did that make you feel? And why did they even go there? Sometimes you're being tested. What are you willing to take? What are you willing to accept? How mad are you going to get? What does it look like when you're mad? How fast are you going to forgive? These are things that unfortunately you really don't know until you're getting there. But with this information that we're providing today and how we're putting these activities together and this food for thought together will help better bring that awareness. So when it happens, it can be, like I said earlier, that light that goes off and says, okay, this was not cool. Let me figure out how I want to address this. And then also, what play or what part do you have in that? Is that joking one-sided? Does it go both ways? Is it considered banter or like horseplay? It's fun until somebody gets hurt. Some of those jokes can be really emotionally and mentally hurtful. So something else to think about. How do you feel about those jokes? And then resolving conflicts. How do you resolve those those conflicts, when you're sharing what bothered you or hurt you or didn't make you feel good? What does that look like? And how is the person that is on the receiving end respecting that, listening to that, changing their ways about that, responding to you about that? Communication is really important and it's very insightful. Seeing how people respond and what their answers are will definitely give you insight to who you're dealing with. You should always feel safe expressing your feelings and your opinions. This comes with the emotional intelligence on your side and the other side, that responding versus reacting, both on your side and the other person's side. And then once that conflict is over, or once though that conversation is over and back to being neutralized to a respecting, healthy space, will those things be used later as a weapon? Will it be weaponized? If so, then now we're back to the drawing board. Okay, we had a healthy conversation about something that I found unhealthy, and now it's being weaponized. That's a great way to identify patterns of that trust, of that respect, of that safe space to communicate clearly to your partner or to your friend, whoever was causing you the issue, the emotional, I don't want to say harm, but that pain that you experienced. Let's have a discussion. Why does anybody think some of the behaviors that I just went through that were unhealthy become toxic?
Oh, wow. What a great question. So I'll interject here, definitely. And if anybody else wants to jump in, just feel free to jump in. Really, the toxicity is huge in the communication of the relationship. How are we talking to each other? How are we honoring each other? I think that's amazing to bring that up, because if we cannot talk to each other in the same room or the same house, how is that going to be put in when we can hide behind our computers, or we can hide behind our avatars? We're here today in the grace of just being present here in the moment with our avatars, and we're having a bit of fun with it because it's a heavy topic to talk about, especially the toxicity of communication or relationships. But in honesty, I think it's really important to address that kind of elephant in the room of, are we talking to each other, and are we honoring each other, and are we showing up for ourselves, for the people around us? And I think you're so right, Agape, when you talk about that, to say, hey, are we honoring our promises? Are we keeping our words? And if we can't do that with each other, especially in a family unit or a community, how are we going to harvest that outside? How is it going to show up on our online space? Because we're seeing everybody with a filter on, or we're seeing the best of them. And then the reality is, when you put that away, what do you think about that? When there's so much video that's not just filtered, but our online space and our presence that is unfiltered, and you watch those kind of crazy viral videos when things are going on. What are we communicating about that? How are you addressing that one? Kind of this space of people, it affects us all, I think.
Oh my gosh, absolutely, for sure. Even something as simple as one partner asking the other partner, I'll just use me as an example. I am going to check in with my partner before making weekend plans to make sure that we're both available. How would that come across? Would that come across as a healthy approach, an unhealthy approach? Is that something that requires positive communication or questionable communication? And when I'm saying that, it probably sounds funny, but I'll give you another example. Why are you asking me what I'm doing this weekend? Why do you want to know if I'm available?
Exactly, because you should want to spend time with the other person. That's important to address. I think it's the tonality that comes out, especially on a text. Are you short and quick, but is that the normal approach you take? And have you changed? And are people questioning why you want to be with them? And if they are questioning why you want to be with them, maybe it's time for a check, right, on the relationship. Where are you at? Why are you asking me? That means probably you don't want to be with them. So definitely that's a huge sign.
So can
That's
I
right.
just, do you mind if I jump in? I have
Please.
a superpower of ADHD, so I'm really good at jumping in. But so Agape, I really appreciate you like giving the examples, because like when I was living, and I'm sure anyone that's been through trauma, you don't realize like when you're in the situation what like what positive is a lot of times, right? Because you're attracting other people, usually, at least I did, that also are going through trauma, and you didn't actually know what healthy looked like. But then when I was around healthy people, I was like, oh my gosh, really? That's actually bad. I do remember um, I really clung on to really healthy moms, the way they talked to me, and they just gave me love and support. And I'm sure that happens otherwise, but I do think if we're able to really show that to other people, be the genuine, authentic, loving people to people, then they'll go, man, maybe I shouldn't be listening to that. So I just wanted to jump in. I really appreciate you doing that. What's healthy? What's not healthy? So it's, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that because, yes, I agree with you 100%. Sometimes, as most of the time, or all of the time, as children, like I was saying, original source of violence, that means that you had no choice on your upbringing. That's what you were exposed to. That's what you saw. That's what you started to believe is the norm. And it's not until you're exposed to the opposite that you realize, oh my gosh, there's another side to this. This isn't normal. This is actually unhealthy. Then it's just like this whole other side opens up in your mind and your emotions because now there's a sense of hope that can turn into influence, that turns into drive, motivation, and purpose to become the other side, the healthy side, the person that does not want to continue that unhealthy, negative, or abusive behaviors. Absolutely. Yes. Okay, so let's talk about another one. Say that your partner gets angry because you're talking to a classmate or a coworker, a neighbor, someone at a networking event, and then tells you to stop. What would that be all about? Obviously, that would fall under that like jealousy, possessiveness, and it's not because they love you. It's not because they're protecting you. There's a form of jealousy there, which is, I'm going to keep looping back to those 5 words I used earlier: respect, trust, jealousy, control, communication. That's what all of these examples and topics and conversation is about. Those 5 words that are that you have your own definition towards. So somebody getting angry because you're talking to someone else, that is a bit on the questionable side. Obviously, it all depends on the scenario. Are you respecting yourself while you're communicating with these other individuals? And if so, then obviously their insecurities or their jealousy is what is really showing itself, especially in that public setting. When you do not know how to control your emotions, it's not when you don't know how to control your emotions, you are reacting. You are not responding. Reaction to, in my personal understanding and belief, reactions is you're not even thinking, you're just reacting. Responding is where you're taking a moment and getting through that thought process, and you're really approaching that individual with kindness and respect to communicate what you're feeling or thinking, so that dialogue and that communication stays healthy as well. Because when there is understanding, then there is a respect on both sides. I hope that makes sense.
Oh gosh, yes, absolutely. Because the jealousy comes into also play with friends and family, not just a relationship, right? How are you talking to the people around you, but then bringing that to the person that you're upset about? I've been there, done that. Hey, at a networking, who are you talking to? Especially with 2020, right? The vid hit and it was like, you're home. You have nowhere to go. You're stuck at home and everybody's in your business. You can't just get on the computer, and thank goodness for backgrounds and the ability to edit stuff and avatars, because you never know who's running around in the background or what dog's howling. But when you take that in there into accountability and just say, hey, wow, what is really going on here? It's a check to say, if I'm on here and I'm on camera and I'm talking to 10 or 20 other Toastmasters, even when I was on at the Toastmasters meeting, what are you doing? Who are you talking to? I tell you what I'm doing. I tell you who I'm talking to, and we had to be home. We were never home together. And now it's like we're all stuck in one spot. It's like you got locked in. And now it's like, what a change in the dynamic. Have you seen a major shift, I'm sure, Agape, in since 2020 when that hit? Because now it's recorded. You can't hide from that. You got the receipts there of what really is going on. So the statistics are hitting. So have you seen like a big uptick on that?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, the results came out not too long ago. February, actually, of 2020 was the highest in history, the amount of calls that came in to the national hotline for domestic violence. So the pandemic actually created multiple pandemics within it, and domestic violence was definitely one of them. And that will definitely lead me into some other statistics as it relates to the children and teenagers, right? So if you're in a unhealthy, toxic environment at home, and now the kids are at home, okay, 1 in 15 children are exposed to the domestic violence, and 90% of them are eyewitnesses. So if you think about that, those milestones in adolescence through teenage years, when you're out of development, when this is what you're exposed to, you're taken out of your environment at school where you have your peers and all of that to being at home, and now your parents are feeling so much stress and so much pressure because they have to do their job. They have to be your teacher, they have to be your chef, the nurse, the engineer, the janitor. Oh my gosh, the stress level on the parents, and then them not having the emotional intelligence to deal with themselves, and then the child just being there. It is such a hard pill to swallow and even accept when I put that potential scenario as a visual, whatever that looks like to you. Just imagining how that child would be crying themselves to sleep or in a closet hiding while that fighting is going on. I've interviewed quite a few people that were open and sharing some of these true experiences. And it's very overwhelming and it's very unfortunate. And that's why we are coming together so strong here now today to bring this awareness so that parents know that their children are watching. You are giving them the emotional intelligence. You're feeding them the emotional intelligence based on how you're dealing and responding to your environment. And then for the children and the teenagers, family members, friends, neighbors, whoever you trust, share what's going on and seek the help. Charlie, did you have a question?
Yeah, I do. One thing that's getting to me is like, how do you approach somebody that you think is being abused without, I don't know, like making them feel ashamed? Or like I knew my sister, I had it where she got one of the worst beatings. Oh, it's terrible, but sorry. But like when someone approached her, right? Like it was like really blunt, right? Like just like, is he, yeah, is he hurting you kind of thing in front of him? And then it turned into something awful. But I'm just curious, like, how can we, I don't know, I'm not sure what I'm trying to say, but how can we like safely bring this up without putting the person, the woman, man, however they identify, without putting them in danger? Does that make sense?
It does. And thank you for asking that question because I have so many answers for you. First and foremost, you can help people that want help. Okay. When people want help, they will receive, accept, and be elated that you are willing to help. People who do not want help, you will know pretty quickly because they'll let you know. That is none of your business. Okay. And sometimes inserting yourself will put you in harm's way and in danger. So be careful on that as well. Now, for the specific scenario that you just provided, your sister was walking somewhere and it was very visible and she was with the abuser. Okay, so If it is visible on someone that you care about and you want to ask questions and you want to provide help, first of all, make sure that it's a safe space for them to even hear the question or even answer the question. Obviously, that was not the appropriate environment for that person to approach your sister because he was next to her, and that probably made it worse when they went home. The other thing is how to help them be more trusting, open, and vulnerable is one of two ways. You could say, hey, I am a survivor of domestic violence, and what I'm seeing seems very familiar to me, and I would like to offer either my story or some help. Are you open to that? Obviously, if you were not a recipient of it, you could also say, hey, somebody I love dearly went through a situation that looks very similar to what you're going through. May I ask if you need help or what's going on? The moment that they know that they're talking to someone that has either experienced or has been exposed to the domestic violence, they will be more prone to open up and share their story because they know that they're talking to someone that it is not going to fall on deaf ears. They know that they are talking to someone that will understand. And that makes a world of difference. Thank you. A few other things, because I'm looking at the time here, a few other things that I wanted to bring up too is supporting each other's goals. That's very important. Supporting each other's goals without putting a timer on it, without making them feel guilty, without pulling them down. What does support look like? And making sure that's what you're receiving. The decisions in a relationship. Is one person making all the decisions, or is it communication, effective communicating, decision making collectively, especially as it relates to what you guys may be doing together opposed to independently? And then also something to really, I want to hone in on situational awareness. Situational awareness is so broad. It's a very broad definition, and there's so many ways to approach situational awareness, starting with self. When you are able to identify your emotions, meaning when you know what it feels like when you're surprised, when you're hurt, when you're angry, when you're excited, when you're just like in a space where you just don't even understand what the heck is going on. Your emotions live inside of your body. Something happens. There's a physiological change that takes place within. And when you're able to identify where those emotions reside and what physiological change is taking place, you are in tune with your feelings. And the more you are in tune with your feelings, the more you will have that situational awareness, especially in those what I called sticky situations, right? So identifying how you're feeling, who you're dealing with, what the environment is, and what the correct, or there is no correct or incorrect, but what the most appropriate response can be for yourself. You can only control one thing in this entire world, and that is yourself. So the moment that you are in tune with those emotions and those feelings, you are able to have more self-control plus situational awareness. And with those combined, you can actually respond opposed to react, which will result in you more than likely getting the outcome that you're actually looking for. Okay. Now, with that being said, I want to talk a little bit about those emotions. Do emotions make sense? Can anybody here answer a yes or no? Do emotions make sense?
No, I will come on the mic and tell you not at all times do our emotions make sense, especially if we have no personal awareness. Anyone else? Danielle, you were coming off the mic for a second. If you want to chime in, go ahead.
I was actually going to say maybe the reaction we have to something. For example, given what I've gone through in life, incident happened 20 years after the incident, and I'm in the room feeling like I'm being held against my will and being called names. And so that repeated. My initial reaction was just like put my hands up and like shaking, panic. I'm not sure that's emotions. I guess the emotion feeling scared, feeling with other things, right? Like upset, disappointed, being that there were people in the room that I felt should have protected me. And in that moment, I think an emotion is like a gut check of I don't feel safe, maybe not necessarily calm at that point, obviously, but maybe an indication that something or an action from someone or words from someone is triggering that trauma. And so it's almost like the emotions then open up doors to past hurt that we may have thought we worked through or put away. I don't know if that makes sense.
It makes absolute sense. Absolute sense. Yes. And just that alone is once I am so compelled to talk about facts versus emotions, right? Because when you're trying to share those emotions, first of all, like you said, it may not even make sense to you at the moment, but then when you're trying to communicate those emotions, the person that's listening to you can be completely lost. What? That makes no sense to me. But
That's
here's the
important. Yeah.
it is so important. But here's the thing, your emotions are based on your facts, which is where it gets even a little more interesting because emotions should not really be challenged. Emotions can be more of a gateway to asking questions to better understand, but emotions are based on your facts. Facts can be challenged. Facts can be researched and identified, and I'm right and you're wrong. But there is no I'm right and you're wrong when it comes to your emotions. Okay? So those emotions, now I'm gonna carry that into accountability versus responsibility. Somebody can be accountable and responsible for their actions that caused those emotions, but they're not responsible for carrying those emotions that you're carrying because at the end of the day, we are labeling or putting a label on that experience or that trauma that created those emotions. And now we're responsible for those emotions that we're carrying within. And now, how do we go about dissecting them, to reprogram them, to label that incident that manifested these emotions differently so that we can become stronger, wiser, and do something about it within ourselves? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that in the moment too, you don't realize. I didn't know, one, I'm neurodivergent, one, and then two, I did not know at that time that I had PTSD. And what I meant for at least the responsibility of the higher up that was in the room was only that when the tone of a superior was elevated and the words were not appropriate for where we were, the only thing that what I meant responsibility was when there's inappropriate behavior and you have a duty that you step in. Now, absolutely, I understand. I think I'm getting it. I hopefully, but my growth was in that I think we were communicating in parallel, meaning he was upset about something that I did or didn't do, and felt that my addressing of the inappropriate behavior at that time and in that moment, that's what I was referring to, where he was referring to something else that he felt I didn't take accountability for. So we weren't even talking about the same thing. So, like now looking back, it's okay. Those traumas, and this is why it's important to help our kids to navigate these things, is because it doesn't go away. The trauma can stay with you and come back to you in different forms, especially when it happens with violence. I lost my train of thought, but anyway.
No, but let me tell you something, Danielle. You said some really profound words in that whole explanation. And I want to point those words out because first I want to recognize that you said growth from trauma, and post-traumatic growth is a real thing, just like PTSD. My personal opinion, I don't think PTSD should be labeled as a disorder. That's just normal for us to have a trauma based on the trauma that we endured. However, the growth part is what I would really encourage you to hone in on, because that's where that experience, the wisdom, the ability to overcome and then teach our children and put that out there. That's what the post-traumatic growth is really all about. You have become a wiser individual. You are setting your boundaries. You are making sure that this does not come over those boundaries again. And now you are sharing this to educate your children, to make them more aware of their surroundings, that situational awareness, that emotional intelligence, the ability to detect prior to it becoming that severe issue. It doesn't even have to be a severe, just issue at all, period, right? So acknowledgement, preventative measures, and then obviously that space or that leeway to open up and share if they need help or if they are experiencing any of those things. Your story, your experience can save somebody else's being, life, emotions, all of those things. So yes, you're absolutely correct. When you're in it and while you're going through it, it is very hard to detect and understand. And more than likely, it's because you didn't hear something like this before your situation occurred. But now that it did, and you're passing that onward and forward, then that's where we are disrupting those generational experiences of having this domestic violence conversation amongst our children, our grandchildren, so on and so forth. So I just really want to acknowledge and applaud you for what, you've been able to do from your personal experience.
Do you mind if I say something? I guess I'm jumping in. But Danielle, I really appreciate you and what you're sharing. Like it's what you're saying is just so spot on. And then I just wanted to say like something I've been learning for quite a while is that thoughts are things. So I don't think thoughts are always factual, right? But I think if we're able to name it, like name whatever we're feeling or name the thought, like the thoughts or what's going on, then we can name it to tame it. And then I think with our body, this is something that I've been learning. And the body keeps the score. I think I mentioned that book, but it's such a good one. But it's just like when our body is going through panic or whatever it is, it's like our body can't actually say, "Hey, I'm reliving this experience," but we can actually ask our body. I think like, mindful meditation is so important for that reason. It's just, okay, all right, body, thank you. Like, I am freaking the F out right now. What is going on? What are you trying to say? And then I think, at least for myself, what I do is say, okay, my body's freaking out, which does it almost so much. But I'm like, okay, body, thank you. I appreciate you. I'm safe right now, right? We're in a safe situation. Like, I don't know, that kind of thing. I don't know. I felt like that was an important thing to say because I'm a very emotional person and I love it. I love my emotions. And then I've learned to actually appreciate the trauma that's stored in my body because then I go, man, there's somebody out there hurting. How can I transform this? And then learn not to like go into a panic attack, but just hopefully, but just have it be anxiety and just be with it. So I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned that because emotions are beautiful, but they're not always based on actual facts. So I don't, but I really appreciate this conversation. It's really helping me grow and being vulnerable. And like Danielle, I really appreciate what you're saying. And then Agape, you're like a genius. I really appreciate what you're saying. Like everything you're saying is spot on. I've done a lot of research and you're just, anyway, you're spot on. I really appreciate this conversation.
Oh, thank you so much. And really, thank you guys for being here and supporting and being open and sharing your personal experiences and having these questions and talking about these different things because you're absolutely right. Both of you, Danielle said that she has kept so much in for so long and she really hasn't even put it out there. And here she is today on this platform putting it out there. And I don't want to take credit for it, but I would like to say that perhaps that's because we allowed to carry out what we said earlier, which was creating that safe space, opening up and sharing our experiences that allows people to feel safe enough to be vulnerable and share theirs. And if that is the case, gosh, we just watched it happen right in front of us to show that is a segue. Yeah. So again, speaking up, I unfortunately use the old school saying of a closed mouth doesn't get fed. But now I understand what that means. If you don't say, I need this, how is somebody going to say, okay, I can give that to you? So thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak under this umbrella of healthy and unhealthy and giving some scenarios to talk through, and then the opportunity to really hit on the PTG. I didn't expect it so soon, but I'm happy that it happened because that is my passion. And there's so many of us that have gone through the journey of post-traumatic growth, but we don't even realize it because we don't know what that is or what that looks like. So thank you so very much.
Oh, Agape, thank you so much for sharing that. What real-time PTG, right? This is important, and that's the magic of being able to watch this and the magic that you bring when you do this, because I saw this in real time at Del Mar when we brought, it was Elizabeth Vargas, I believe, from the Real Housewives, right? She shared, you gave her the space and you met her where she was at, and she felt so trusted in the space that we provided that she was able to share her situation years ago. She said she had some traumatic relationships. And I think it was like the News 5 channel or something. We have that on CDV on LinkedIn, and I'm not sure if you have that on the website or not, but I'll look for it too and share it with this group, you guys. We just want you to know that it's so great for you to be vulnerable at this time and trusting and have that real-time conversation. And thank you. That's the magic of this confronting domestic violence, is to say, hey, we are here for you and we want you to grow and we want you to be able to speak up and to give you the mic to be seen, to be heard, and to meet you where you're at if you're comfortable doing that, because we can share the healing together. And sometimes if you can talk about it and at the point that you're at without the so much pain, but the gratitude of saying, hey, this is what happened to me, this experience I was in, and you can hear it in the tone of your voices. And there's obviously some wonderful healing that's gone on in your life to be at this point that you're at now. So just want to say, I haven't seen the other two speakers. So do you want to keep talking, or is there something you want to share? Or anything else, or if you guys have any specific questions you want to get into, we can open up to any communication or to any Q&A. If you guys want to just keep talking to Agape and have some questions for her, we'll bring her back up here.
Thank you for that, Nicole. You actually jogged my memory about Elizabeth. Yes, she and I met at Fox 5 News. I don't know her. I didn't know her prior to that. I was actually about 4 minutes away. I was around the corner and she called me, and she didn't think that she was going to be able to go through it. She did not think that she was going to have the strength to get up there on the stage or podium, whatever it is, and be interviewed by the news anchor. And on my way to the parking lot, when she called me, I heard it in her voice. And as a survivor and as a coach and understanding the traumas, I was literally able to have this tone. And those of you that know me know I do not have that tone, okay? I had this tone and I was able to share with her my personal experience because she had no idea who I was either. And I brought up post-traumatic growth at that moment while I was on my way to see her for the very first time. And we were backstage for probably 20 minutes. And this woman was pacing back and forth. She was talking about how she locked herself in the bathroom for a couple of days. She didn't think that she was going to even make it to the station. And with so much love and with so much fear, She put one foot in front of the other and she sat on that chair and she was interviewed by the news anchor. And on the news live, she looked at me and she said, "You talk to me about post-traumatic growth." And I couldn't believe she did that. And I was just like, oh my gosh, if I ever felt like I had 1 second of celebrity status in my life, like that was the moment.
Do you want to play that? Welcome back, Dr. Leland. Do you want me to play that? I found the link. We can play that for a minute and share that with everybody. The
Let's
magic.
absolutely do that. So you
Here we
could
go.
see her actions and her body language and how that went down. Yes.
Oops, I don't think I shared really quick. So let me try that again. Share that correctly. I did not add. Oh, there we go. Optimize for video. Here we go. Let me know if you can't hear it. My screen is going a little wonky. Here we go. Got too many things opened, and yes.
Will experience a form of domestic violence in their lifetime. Agape Garcia and Elizabeth Lynn Vargas joining us this morning to talk about an important gala that's happening this weekend. Good morning to both of you, and thank you for being here. Agape, I want to start with you. Domestic violence, we hear it. We talk about it here on the morning show. But unless you say you're really in it and you experience it, it's very difficult to understand.
That is correct.
Why?
Because you don't know until you're faced with it. There's a lot of times where you are giving your emotions and trust and your vulnerability to someone that you believe loves you until they start to disrespect you or do things that are crossing the boundaries. And obviously you didn't know that was going to take place prior, otherwise you wouldn't be there.
For many that may find themselves in a situation, maybe people on the outside will say, just leave. It's just easy to just leave. That's not the case.
That is never the case. It is not just easy to leave. A lot of times fear and finances is what keeps people in that situation.
There are a lot of resources here in San Diego. It's really about knowing where to go, right?
Because when you're in that situation, you don't know where to look. You've never had to look for it before. So again, until you're faced with that situation is when you're starting to actually look and seek that type of help.
You are the founder and executive director of Confronting Domestic Violence. So how does this particular nonprofit help people?
Well, we help people in two different ways at two different stages in their situation. So basically, when we get the phone call from the real-time victim/survivor, they can be in a state where they're not sure what to do or what's going on or where to find the help. They're just in that confused state that they know they need to leave, but they just don't know. So what we do is we listen, we assess the situation, and then we provide resources to help them get to what their most immediate need is. The other stage that we help with is when you are ready, when you are clear and you need to leave and you don't have a place, and you don't have a way to get there. So if you have a safe place to go, but not the means to get there, that's where Confronting Domestic Violence comes in to fill that gap.
Elizabeth, you got involved in this. Why?
A very serious situation where it escalated within a 3-week period, and I was held by gunpoint, and I wanted to support you. I'm a little nervous.
No, understandable. No.
I survived my situation, and I just want other women to know that it could happen to anybody. It doesn't matter your status, you're this, anything. Domestic violence is running rampant, and if we can all just join together and we can help each other out with your cause and just giving women resources that I didn't have and I hid in my house for 3 weeks. I didn't know who to call. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know anything. And so I think that your cause and what you're about is very admirable, and I wish I would have known who to call. I'm here today just to let other women know that the resources are there.
And you sharing your story now really could be helping somebody watching right now.
Yes, I was nervous to come here today, and I didn't realize I had PTSD from my situation until yesterday. So I get here today, and what did you tell me that you do?
The post-traumatic growth.
The post-traumatic growth, and I didn't even know what that meant. But now that I'm talking about it and I'm speaking my truth, and I can accept that I felt guilty, like I made a mistake and I was with this criminal, and it's not my fault. And just understanding that, I think I just wanted to speak today because it's not your fault, and it never will be. They prey on us. And there's resources out there that can help if you're being held like.
What a powerful message. What a powerful message. There is a gala that is happening Sunday. I'm assuming it's to benefit the cause?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Where is it? What's happening?
Right. So how wonderful was that could be done in real time? That is what you're all about. Agape is really hearing that post-traumatic growth in real time. An actress, our reality TV queen, coming in there, and she actually opened up even further at the event and brought her friends so she can share that. She said she'll never share it again, but the point that she let that out and let it grow. And what does that show you, the magic that you bring here today?
You're gonna make me cry. Wow. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with the group. And I never really looked at it that way. I just feel like I'm doing what I am led to do. And I'm very humble in that. And I just want to keep growing this message and helping other people get to the other side. And that's what CDV is all about. And thank you so much, Miss Chairwoman of CDV. You're a big part of this.
Thanks. And we just had somebody come in and say hello. If you want to come in and say hello, we are coming in here having some conversation, and a little bit we're opening up to a Q&A. And if you want to just come in and say hello.
Actually, Michelle is here. Michelle, our speaker, is here to talk about the setting confident boundaries.
Oh, perfect. Go ahead, and I'll bring her up. Welcome, Michelle. Let me actually introduce you, because I believe if we are ready, I'm going back and forth from screen to screen. So so let me just introduce you a little bit really quick, because then we're so glad to have you here today and be part of this. Michelle, let me bring you up on the screen and I will introduce you and say, hey, here we are in the digital space in real time, and I'm going to add you up here. So Michelle Ward is a testament to the transformative power of holistic health, embodying the deep personal journey of mind, body, and spirit renewal. As a certified holistic health coach, wife, and mother of 2 daughters, her wellness journey began in 1999 amid fertility challenges. Traditional treatments fell short, prompting Michelle to embrace nutrition and lifestyle changes. And that's what we're here about, folks, is lifestyle changes as part of the community, to say, hey, we are making real-time transformation, and you can't get better than that. What a time for you to pop in. Thank you. And I will give you the mic, Michelle.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here and for the message of you don't have to be in these situations, and that there are ways out of them. I think that so many women feel disempowered in their current circumstances and don't really know how to exit them. And there are some strategies and there are some things that you can do. Can I share my screen? I've got a presentation that I was going to do.
Yeah.
Okay, one moment. Let's see. Let's share this and let's just play it. So again, my name is Michelle Ward. My coaching business is Elan Vital Coaching. And Elan Vital basically is French for vital force. And it was a phrase that was coined by Dr. Henry Bergson in a book in 1906 called Creative Evolution. And basically what it means, this vital force is something that every cell is born with, everything is born with and evolves from. Unfortunately, as humans, our vital force is quashed through the years, especially in our formative years, because of social norms, cultural norms, familial norms, things like that, people telling us who we are, who we need to be, and we don't really oftentimes get a chance to evolve into the person and who the person that we're meant to be. So I am all about awakening your vital force, that Elan Vital. One of the things that I touch on is, or teach on and coach on, is subconscious programming. Now, we all know that we have a conscious mind and a subconscious mind, but what a lot of us don't know is the subconscious mind is running the show. And we actually need that, because what if you had to think about breathing and digesting and liver processes and kidney processes all day? It'd be exhausting. You wouldn't be able to do anything else. So the subconscious is actually a great thing for us to just survive, but also the subconscious it remembers everything. And how we perceive certain events in our life, especially from the third trimester in the womb up until age 7, really forms our beliefs. So deeply ingrained beliefs may not align with our conscious understanding of what is healthy or deserved. The subconscious programming is heavily influenced by early experiences, and the subconscious learns primarily through repetition and reinforcement. Authority figures, traumatic events, emotionally charged statements can leave deep imprints that shape our beliefs and behaviors into adulthood. And we don't even realize that those things are running the show. Stanford research shows that we have about 65,000 thoughts per day. 93 to 97% of those thoughts are subconscious, and 60 to 80% of those subconscious thoughts are negative, and we don't even realize that. So it's an important thing to remember. Subconscious programming often leads to a fear of leaving the perceived safety of current circumstances, and also a fear of the unknown outside of what is normal to you. We all have subconscious programming. Now, what our subconscious believes is safe, its job is to keep you safe. It has no logical thinking ability, is not always safe, as we know. So there's a long-term impact of early childhood programming. So there's limiting beliefs that often become self-fulfilling prophecies. Maybe you grew up in a home. I grew up in a home where my dad was constantly angry and yelling, and I never knew and so that translated into self-sabotaging behaviors into my 40s, really. So early experiences within our family of origin can shape our beliefs about relationships, leading to unhealthy patterns in our adult relationships. If you, like me, lived in a home where the father was yelling and the mom was emotionally disconnected, and my mom was emotionally disconnected and not really sticking up for me, I didn't feel worthy of just even living. And I didn't feel like what I had to say mattered. And I didn't feel like I had any protection at all. So the fear of striving for something beyond the norm we are afraid that it'll be met with criticism or resistance or even punishment. So how does this go along with setting healthy boundaries? It has a lot to do with it, because what we believe about ourselves subconsciously will manifest in ways of not setting healthy boundaries, not standing up for ourselves, not being able to recognize manipulations and coercions in a relationship. And then you're so deep into this relationship that, it feels hard to get out of it. And I'm sure a lot of people can identify with that. So where does this stem from? There's 5 top emotions that keep us from setting healthy boundaries. Now, there are other ones, but I'm just going to go over the top 5. Like guilt. I have to make other people happy before I make myself happy. There's this guilty feeling of I can't do that because that will make them unhappy. There's fear. A lot of people think that their acceptance is conditional on complying with someone else's wishes. There's confusion. A lot of times there's confusion about, Agape touched on this in that video, is that you receive mixed message about what love is, and then you tie that to your self-worth. There's shame. I must deserve this behavior, or there's something wrong with me. And I fell into that shame hole a lot. And then there's also sadness. This is not how I believe the relationship was supposed to be, so I'm going to do what I can to fix it. And so we stay in this repetitive pattern or this belief that I deserve this behavior, and this is not how I thought it was going to turn out. So I'm just going to keep on trying to fix the situation when a lot of times it's just not fixable. So that's where it's important to start setting boundaries. So how do we set boundaries? It sounds hard to some people, but it actually is a process, and it's really redefining your self-worth for yourself. And so boundaries define our limits and protect our inner peace. Brene Brown said that, which it may not seem like at the time. So I'll just give you a little bit of my story. About 20 years ago, my mom started exhibiting some erratic behavior, chaotic behavior, and it was linked to drinking and her own emotions that she had not dealt with. But I allowed the behavior because I didn't have to be with her all the time, and I thought I could handle it. But it started escalating and escalating until it hit pitch fever about 8 months ago. And I finally put my foot down, and I had to tell her until she got into a recovery program or got into some therapy that I was not going to be able to have any more contact with her. So a lot of people can identify with the manipulator of the person you're trying to manipulations of the person that you're trying to set the boundaries with, and they will turn it on you. And I guess we call that gaslighting right now, or it's referred to as gaslighting. But when you are the person that is setting the boundaries, it is really difficult to separate the wheat from the chaff, basically, to separate what is manipulation, coercion. She would not take responsibility. She blamed me for all of her woes. And for 4 months, I would tell her, it would be over text. She would send me these crazy texts and blame me for her having a broken heart. And I told her over and over again, I'm not going to have a discussion with you about this until you get some help. And for 4 months, she wouldn't do it. She wouldn't do it. I don't need therapy. I'm not an alcoholic. I don't have a problem. You're the problem. You're saying I'm a horrible mother, which I never said that, but she was projecting. And finally, she realized after that 4-month period that I was actually serious, that I was not going to engage with her until she got some help. So she did go into therapy and is following what I asked her to do in order for us to re-engage in conversation. Now, it's been 4 months. We're still not talking, but I see some hope and I see a light at the end of the tunnel. But it was very difficult for me. I felt guilty because that's my mom. I felt shame because maybe I'm misinterpreting this. I felt confused because this is not how you're supposed to have a relationship with your mom. I felt fear because the whole family dynamic was disrupted because of me. Thanksgiving looked different, Christmas looked different, birthdays, celebrations, and all those things look different because I'm not engaging with the family because of her. It's gotten easier, but if I had not set that boundary with her, she would have never gotten help. And like I say, the story is not over yet, but there is some hope there. So we'll go over these five emotions that you might feel. And here are some practical things that somebody can do in order to evaluate what they are, the situation, questions to ask, things to ponder in order to help you evaluate how you can get out of the situation. So with guilt, you actually have the right to express your feelings without feeling guilty. You have a right to your emotions, and it's okay. You have the right to say no without feeling guilty. You have the right to say, no, I'm not going to accept this type of behavior anymore. I'm not going to engage in this conversation because it never works out well. Practice saying no or expressing your emotions in the mirror. I think one of the hardest things to do is talk to myself in the mirror because it's just uncomfortable. But if you can tell yourself over and over in the mirror or practice what you're going to say and say it to yourself, it becomes ingrained in your subconscious and it becomes easier to do. Know why you are setting the boundaries. I had to write out an entire list of things of why I was doing, because my husband even told me, you need to write that stuff out because you're going to forget, or you're going to start thinking it's not that big of a deal. And I would go back to, maybe it's just how she is. I shouldn't take this so personally. I should, but no, it was important for my personal peace and my own mental health in order to know why I was setting the boundary with her. And it was important for me, for her too, because I had to repeat the same thing over and over again and ask these questions. Why do I feel guilty when I prioritize my needs? Where is that coming from? A lot of that comes from subconscious programming that happened in the formative years. And then the subconscious programming is there to keep you safe. The subconscious, again, is there to keep you safe, but safety isn't safe whenever you evolve and grow into adulthood. And then whose voice is really speaking when I feel this guilt? Is that the voice of my dad telling me that I don't deserve a good life? Is that the voice of my mom saying you're not worthy? Or whatever it is that was said to you whenever you were a child. Fear, how do you deal with the fear? You've got to develop a clear plan for how to stay safe in situations where boundaries may trigger aggressive responses. You've got to practice setting boundaries in a safe place to reduce the anxiety about real life situations. You can practice it with a friend, you can practice it with a loved one, you can practice it with a therapist or a counselor. You've got to learn to recognize the early signs of manipulation and control in relationships to avoid. We all see red flags. And I always tell I have two daughters, and 22 and 24. And I tell them when they have started relationships is that person is telling you who they are. You need to believe them. If they're manipulating you, coercing you, trying to make you feel guilty or feel bad or shame, then that is not going to get better. So I would reevaluate the relationship and learn from other experiences. And then ask yourself, what specific outcomes, like what is it that you're afraid is going to happen when you set these boundaries? And really, how realistic are these fears? And what evidence do I have that supports a different outcome? A lot of times we base our current situation on our past instead of really being in the present moment and thinking to yourself, I've got to ground myself in this present moment and think what good outcome can come from setting these boundaries. Like my mom, I was like, I didn't really expect anything to change, but a good thing that did happen is that she is getting some help that she needs. I had no way of knowing that was actually going to happen, but now I have hope that will be a good thing. Let's see here. Confusion. You can use writing to clarify your feelings and distinguish between past manipulation and current realities. You can use your past experiences to identify patterns or to identify things that look familiar and that you maybe want to avoid. You can seek out books, workshops, seminars like this on healthy relationships and to understand what healthy interactions look like. A lot of times when we grow up, our environment is what's normal to us. We don't know any different. How many times have you, maybe you went away to college or went to a friend's house or saw a healthy relationship playing out and you're like, wait, is that what normal looks like? Because what normal looks like to me is not that. And so seeking out healthy interactions to help you understand and uncover what you think is normal may not be normal or acceptable. This is another thing. This is so key. Give new relationships time in different settings and observe how they respect boundaries before deepening the relationship. I can't tell you how many clients or friends that I've had in the past who go full in and knee deep or actually neck deep in the water of a relationship within a couple of 2 or 3 weeks. That they're in love. This is my soulmate. This is whatever. And it turns out that they haven't given the relationship enough time to develop in order to see what the red flags might be or where there could be potential issues in the future. And a lot of that has to do with subconscious programming because of our desire and our need to be loved or be seen or to feel desired. So it's important to observe before you go too deep into a relationship, and ask what messages from my past are confusing my understanding of healthy relationships. Just think about unhealthy relationships that you've had in the past, and what were the triggers that caused behavior, or what were the things that you were telling yourself that you believed that kept you in that relationship. And how does this confusion affect my ability to set healthy boundaries? A lot of times, I say this a lot, is you can't see the picture when you're standing in the frame. So it's super important to get the support that you need in order to answer these questions. And shame. So shame is one of the lowest vibrations, energies that we can feel. Shame will keep us stuck. It will keep us in unhealthy relationships. It will keep us from really igniting that vital force, that elan vital within us. So one of the ways that you can tap into who you are is just sitting still for a moment, like just sitting still for 5 minutes a day, and observe your thoughts and have compassion for yourself. It's okay to feel bad. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be upset and frustrated and infuriated. Those emotions are pointing to something that has to be worked on, and there's nothing wrong with them. Work with a coach, a therapist, an energy healer to address deep-seated shame and to learn how to separate your self-worth from other people's actions. How people respond to you and how people talk about you or talk to you has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them. Allowing somebody else to define who you are and form an identity around that, it's not helpful. And more than likely, or all the time, whenever somebody is reacting negatively to you, it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them. So identifying or believing and knowing that to be true, and just really tapping into your self-worth is very important to help you set good boundaries. Avoiding relationships that echo past abusive dynamics, and seeking out people who lift you up rather than degrade. If somebody is degrading you, if somebody is beating you down, if somebody is telling you that you're worthless, it's time to, and then ask, what beliefs do I hold about myself that fuel my shame? Do I think I'm unworthy, undeserving? Do I think I'm unlucky? Do I think that this is just how life is supposed to be? Really identify those beliefs and question them. And then think about a friend. You've probably heard this before, but think about how you talk to yourself. And if you had a friend that talked to you the way you talk to yourself, maybe they wouldn't be a friend, right? So really evaluate that. But if you have a friend that's in a situation, how do you view that person? Do you view them as shameful, or what do you think about them? No, you probably have great compassion for them and want to help them. A lot of times how you view other people is how you view yourself. You've heard, if you're pointing at someone, you've got 4 other fingers pointing back at you. Think about that, like how you are viewing a situation, an outside situation, is a lot of times how you view yourself. And then the last thing is sadness. It's hard to exit a relationship. It is hard to set boundaries in a toxic situation, but getting professional support to process the grief of letting go is really helpful. I did that, and it was one of the best things I did for myself, because you can't, again, see the picture when you're standing in the frame. And building connection with supportive friends, family, or support groups, they're all over the place, who understand and can validate your emotional journey, very important. And allow yourself time to fully grieve past relationships and idealized versions of them. I thought it was supposed to be this way. I wanted it to be this way. I needed it to be this way. It's okay to feel those feelings of grief and sadness that they didn't turn out that way, because that can make space for healthier future relationships. And the last couple of questions I have you ask is, what am I really losing by setting this boundary? But what might I gain? A lot of people don't make changes because they can't see past their current situation. But when they do make the changes and they do set the boundaries and they do move past those toxic relationships, they reveal a life and an experience of life and joy and happiness that they did not know could happen. And then honor your sadness. How can you honor your sadness while still moving forward towards healthier relationships? And these are all just things that you've got to ponder yourself. Everybody's situation is different. Everybody will have different answers, but it's spending time with yourself to identify and answer these questions. It's very helpful and important when setting boundaries. Now, I would love for anybody to connect with me. Here's my website, elanvital-coaching.com. You can email me, Michelle, elanvital-coaching.com. You can take a free self-sabotage quiz on my website. You can email me for a 7-day journal that'll help you go through these questions. You can schedule a complimentary 30-minute consultation, and then you can ask me about emotional release therapy. A lot of us have trapped emotions in our body that lead to self-sabotaging behavior. We don't even know that they're there. The subconscious stores trapped emotions, and it makes it very hard to move past the idea of setting a boundary or move past the idea of you're not worthy. So anyway, I'm going to stop my share here and answer any questions that anybody has or clarify anything. And hopefully that was helpful. So.
Very helpful. And thank you so much, Michelle. Wow. This was definitely a great opportunity to see a lot deeper inward and to see what you have to offer. And I'm just, wow, thank you so very much. I would like to open the floor to anybody who has any questions or would like to seek additional information from Michelle. You'll have to unmute. Okay. Nicole,
I
did
know
you?
this is a very personal thing, so if somebody doesn't want to ask questions in a group setting, I completely understand. That's why I offer a complimentary consultation. There's no pressure whatsoever, but also would like to offer, I'm getting a certification in emotional healing, and we'll be offering free sessions, people to volunteer their time, 10 to 30 minutes to help me get my certification. But what that does is just identifies trapped emotions in the body and can help alleviate pain or alleviate sadness or grief or anger or resentment, things like that. So if anyone's interested, just send me an email.
Oh, wow. That sounds great. Thank you. You can, Michelle, if you haven't yet, if you would just pop your email in the chat. And I think any part of healing is a good thing. So we definitely want to add that to the mix and say, hey, we want to do some post-traumatic growth. And we definitely did some with Agape earlier, just some talk, opening up the mic and saying, hey, thank you. There we go. And just save the chat, folks. And you can get with Michelle. And so it's not just about testimony today, it's about healing. So the post-traumatic growth and any emotional intelligence to move forward and say, hey, whatever we're calling it, we have to heal. And how do we heal? It's by helping and talking and being serviced and serving one another. So super amazing. And thank you so much for that today. It's awesome that you're here and that you're sharing this part of it, for being here and helping that change. We'll definitely have to talk at some time and connect further, Michelle. It's always good to be here,
Yes.
especially the hounds are so supportive. It's amazing. It's amazing, amazing, amazing. I love it. Oh gosh. So I think Natasha, if you're here, you're welcome to come on on the mic, and we're just doing a little avatar and sharing with people that say, hey, you don't have to come on camera if you don't want to, because it's such a touchy situation today that we're talking about, but we appreciate you being here. So I'm going to spotlight you. And I have your bio. So what I'll do is I will bring you up here and read a little bit about who you are so people know who Natasha is, and say, hey, today we have such extraordinary speakers and people sharing and in this event today in this workshop or seminar, because we are doing some work here one-to-one. So Miss Palumbo, also known as Professor Palumbo, I hope I said that, has been an educator since 2000. She has more than 26 years of business administration experience and has been an entrepreneur since 2002. Wow, fantastic. So over 20 years. It's fantastic. She's the one with the no, right? She is creative leader with an in-depth knowledge and expertise in applying strategic business management, development of small business initiatives, and progressive leadership. She's a 5-time published author. Alrighty, wow, I've got a bit to catch up. And all her books are available nationwide. Miss Palumbo has taken her trauma and turned it into triumph, and we do like that. We definitely support that positive change here. She went from welfare to wealth. Today, she fearlessly and courageously shares her story of abuse, healing, freedom, and the ability not only to overcome, but to excel in all those she encounters. She has an innate ability to hold the attention of those she trains and teaches. She has been serving the homeless community since 2003, and she has a passion and love for those who society has labeled unimportant. She's also a mother of 2 children, which above all is her proudest accomplishment. And so thank you for being here, Natasha. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Nicole. I appreciate that warm welcome and greeting, and hello to everyone, and kudos to Agape for putting this together for everyone. You guys can hear me okay out there, all right? Yeah, I just want to make sure. Yeah, okay, great. Perfect. Yeah, I have a very tragic backstory that I share very openly and very publicly. I was abused starting at 3 years old. I was molested by my maternal grandfather for an entire decade. And then at 13, my mom discarded me so that she could go continue on in her own trauma and her toxic relationships of husbands and make number 4 and 5, which were the same man. She left me and kind of discarded me and gave me to my father so she could go be with this man. And when I started living with my dad, my stepmom definitely had a problem that my mother's trash was dropped at her door, and I was confined to a room like a prison where I stayed for until I was about 16, so like 3 years. And then at 16, I was a freshman in high school. My stepmom told my dad that she had enough and I needed to go. She simply did not want me there. Again, her facing her own demons and toxicity and things of that nature. And from there, I began living on my own, and it didn't stop. I got into a very domestic abuse relationship very early on, and that abuse lasted too long. But I then finally put a stop in it, and I left Florida, where I'm originally from, and I came to California in pursuit of a better life with a baby on my hip, covered in layers of trauma, like these jackets right here, just covered in them, because that's what we are, as Michelle was talking about prior to me. And very poor, ugly, ugly poor. And I just started pursuing education. I'm first gen. I'm still the only one in my family to have a master's degree. Currently teach as a professor, which I love so much. And I've been in about 15 years of in-depth trauma therapy. I study the brain, our nervous system, all the emotional pinpoints that she was talking about earlier. They're very real. Our body keeps the score, and that's an incredible book that you might find as a resource for you. It's a heavy book, by the way, but there are things online that can help you listen to it. And there's a lot to still be discovered, honestly, with trauma, whether you have little t or big T. Everybody has some form of trauma, and it does typically stem from our childhood, as I've just expressed mine. But I am living, walking proof that you can overcome. Education and entrepreneurship have reshaped my life, but my drive to overcome and not succumb to what happened to me has really been the fuel. And of course, I give all credit to God and the grace and the covering He has extended over my life that has put me in a position of power today. So we get to have that authority. We get to have that victory, and it takes a lot of work. So my encouragement to all of you is to do the work, right? You just got offered some free opportunities to get a journal and to go get some coaching and to have an opportunity to connect. And I will leave my information, and you are welcome to reach out and connect with me. But it's important that you take that opportunity. I teach a lot on trauma and our brain, and trauma is the Greek word is traumas, and it means a wound to our brain ultimately. And so when our brains are developing, we develop from the back of our brain to the front. And this back brain here is called the reptilian brain. And that's what gets fried. And so if I had some good, this might work right here. I have a good plug. I'm going to show you this plug just for the sake of showing you a plug, right? It's my mic that's not working currently, but we have this plug, right? See this plug? This plug kind of runs down the back from our brain here down. That's our nerve. That's our vagus nerve, and it attaches to our brain. If this was a regular plug that I plugged into the wall, and it's set for, say, 60 volts, and I plug it into 1,000, what happens? It fries. That's what happens to us in trauma. It fries our brain. And when it does, what you'll see is all of our organs are attached. There's ways to heal that. There's ways to heal your brain. There's ways to help this frontal lobe, which is where the rational thinking comes from. But it takes a lot of work. We have neuroplasticities of the brain, which means our brain is plastic and it can reshape as we create new pathways. As we stop doing certain things, what are you willing to stop doing in your life so that you can start doing something new to put you in the right direction, right? And the neuroplasticity, so an old pathway would dissolve and a new pathway will come forward. And when you do, the rest of your body can heal. But it is a process and it does take time. I'm a very big promoter of EMDR therapy. EMDR is an eye movement type therapy, and it is life-saving. It definitely saved my life. And I tell everyone, I encourage everyone to look into that therapy. These things are coming from our childhood, but we get to heal, and it's a journey. So one of the things as I was setting and thinking about what I wanted to give you as an overarching topic is the answer is and will always be love. Put love in the chat room for me. If you're here with me today, put love in the chat room. I need you to love the ugly parts of you. I need you to love the parts of you that have been hard to be able to digest. I need to love the prior versions of yourself. Love is and always will be the answer. The more you can actually dive into love of self, the better you will become. It is always the answer. It is actually the only thing that is real. Everything else is an illusion. This moment, there's so many things in illusion. Love is the only thing that is real. You and your essence of love right now is real. It's the only thing real. Everything else is an illusion. Love never dies, but it does transcend, as each of us will do one day. So the answer is always love. As I was sitting here and I was resonating with the energy, I clearly heard, tell them to love themselves. The ugly parts, the hard parts. I know standing in that mirror is hard. I'm having a mirror at women's event coming on Saturday, and I know how hard that is, but I'm going to have the women stand before these mirrors, and I'm going to let it resonate, and I'm going to go and I'm going to speak into their lives. You have to embrace all of that, and you have to have compassion of self. I don't know about you, but I'm going to speak for myself. I'm hard on myself. And I can still be hard even in the work if we're real, if we want to be real today. And I've grown a lot. I'm 15 years in, right? But I'm still going. I'm still going. I'm still a work in progress, right? Evolution and growth over a lifetime is the pursuit to mastery. I'm going to say it again. Evolution and growth over a lifetime is a pursuit to mastery. You are constantly chiseling at this vessel. Never stop chiseling. Never stop digesting knowledge. because we perish from a lack of knowledge. So never stop taking it in. This moment that you've dedicated to yourself to have in this space, to be fed today, may it be rich in soil of your heart. May the seeds just migrate in there and grow and spring forward at the right time. So I want you to learn to have compassion of yourself. You're going to have to love yourself in the good and the bad. And then you're going to have to really have that come to Jesus moment and that reflection in the mirror. What do I need to stop doing? What do I need to start doing to make sure that I get to go live what I call an empowered life, right? These are things I want you to reflect on. You do not have to do this journey alone, right? You get to have support along the way. You have a whole vast of support just right here in this one moment here that is available for you. But as your season shifts and change, support comes and goes. Don't limit yourself, right? Things are for season. When you need them, they're there. Remember, you have the ability to create this life, co-create this life. It is by what you think and what you speak, right? And what resonates on your heart, which is why it is important to guard your heart. So for you on the call, I want you to think about in your youth especially, you're still evolving so much. Listen, I'm 50, honey, and still evolving. Let me just get cute real fast. Sorry, I had to have a moment, right? Listen, my avatar would be cute. She would have some high heels on so y'all could really see her. But for right now, you got the real thing here in front of you. Seriously, you're young. You're still evolving. I need you to focus inwardly, which is the way out. The deeper you go within, the freer you become. Go within. It is the way out. And I want you to think about how much you can set and love yourself, especially with this whole commercialized love day tomorrow coming up. And so many people will be in the dumps because maybe they don't have the Valentine. Listen, honey, don't let that stop you from going out and get dressed up, okay? Take yourself out for Valentine's Day if you need to. Be a Valentine every day. Like, why we got to have it one day? I need love every day. I'm here to give love every day. And it starts with yourself. So taking that time, setting boundaries. Ready? I'm about to drop this. Here you go. Boundaries are to protect you, not to offend anyone. Boundaries are to protect me. Put it in the chat room. Boundaries are to protect me and not to offend anyone. If anyone gets offended by the fact that you said, no, I can't take you there, or no, you can't have my money, or no, you can't talk to me like that, there's a problem. You have rights to your no, and your yes is undeniable. A lot of times the reason why we have a struggle with no, and I heard Michelle touch on the no and knowing you had that right, is our no was stolen. Mine was stolen when I was 3. Okay, baby? Mine was stolen when I was 3. And it kept being stolen. And it kept being stolen. See, I didn't know I had the right to say, no, you can't touch me. No, you can't do that to me. No, you can't. No. So then what happened is, because I didn't know I had the right to say no, I grew up, unfortunately, in domestic violence that I didn't know how to say, no, you can't put your hands on me like that. I went into relationships that I gave money to. No, you took you here, got used, all of that, all because I struggled with saying, no, I didn't even know I had the right to it. You mean I have right to say no? I was not taught that. I wasn't taught boundaries. I wasn't taught healthy anything. I had to go teach myself. Thank God our world is equipped out there with resources, but it's up to you. Nobody's coming to save you. I'm sorry to give you that message today. It's actually already been done, but you are going to save yourself, right? You have to get yourself up. You being here today is a piece moving you forward and helping you save yourself, because you're getting your tools and resources and getting connected to a deeper network. So this is a big part that's going to help you move yourself forward. You have to be able to pick yourself up and learn that you have the right to say no. You have the right to say no, and you have the right to be told no. That's a hard one too. When our no is stolen from us, not only can we struggle in saying no, but man, tell me, my heart just feels like a prison sentence. It feels like somebody took my heart and just threw it on the ground and just stomped on it. Why is that? Because I have no understanding of no. And it hurts deeply. You understand? You have rights to know, and your yes is undeniable. Meaning, if you're told no, that's okay. You know why? Because you have an undeniable yes. And it is far more powerful and purposeful than any no you will ever receive. That is a Palumbo principle that I want you all to walk away with, as well as the other seeds that I have laid before you. You have rights to your no, and your yes is undeniable. It is far more powerful and purposeful than any no you will ever receive. And all things work to the good. Everything you have been through, everything you will continue to go through will work to your good. You get to have a position of power from your pain. Please understand this. You get to equip yourself, and that's the message today, is take these tools, put them into practice. Begin to love on yourself even more than you ever have. Drape yourself in it. Have a moment. Drink water. Set with water. Put your feet in water. Let water nourish you. Okay? Feed your soul. And love yourself in the good and the bad, because you are worthy to be loved. But it starts with you. And that is the message. And that is actually really all I have to share with you. I know I was short and sweet, but I'm going to drop all of my information in the chat room to you all now. There wasn't a greater message outside of you guys knowing to be loved. You can check out my podcast. I have a lot of different podcast version episodes out there. I would go check out Water. I would go check out The Power of Vision. I would check out The Space to Grieve, Faith to Rest. Listen, go out there and continue to take in your resources, your tools, and then it's execution, baby. Put it into practice. Set the boundary. Let that toxic teddy bear go. Don't you know you have something greater waiting for you? There might be a little void, but guess what? The void won't be there for long. And I promise you, you are a star rising. It has been an incredible honor to be with you. I want you to know that you matter, you are enough, and you are worthy to step into the higher version that is waiting for you right now. Be encouraged, be empowered, and be well, everyone. If you have anything you want to ask me, you are welcome. The floor is open.
All right, guys, if you want to share or ask Natasha a question, feel free to come on. Just come off your mic. I know people are popping in and out all day, and we were coming to the end. So that was so amazing, Natasha. Thank you. And I don't even know if I really have a question. I just want to say thank you because you just shared so much. You just shared, and this is a beautiful day to share the post-traumatic growth and share, our hearts, our loves, our experience, and say thank you for being here and for being part of this. Agape, why don't you come up here with Natasha? And I'm sure you've always got some questions for everybody, and it'd be great to have a little conversation, and then we'll be ending soon.
Woo-wee. Yes, thank you so much. Yes, thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Natasha. Thank you to all the speakers that showed up today and shared their superpowers and the encouragement, their experience, the post-traumatic growth that each and every one of us has actually walked through. Each and every single person is a definition of post-traumatic growth that wasn't just speakers today, but also the attendees, each and every one of us. So again, profuse gratitude all the way. And Natasha, you're a powerhouse from the age of 3. My goodness, talk about trauma and the post-traumatic growth. Look at who you are today and what you've done, and your kids are healthy mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, all the above. And this is the epitome and a true walking testimony of breaking that generational trauma. So I just definitely wanted to put that out there. And again, I'm never speechless, like Nicole said, but I don't think I have many questions either. It's more of the wow factor and just the profuse gratitude. We are so aligned in this mission of breaking the violence, breaking the trauma, and providing this awareness, and sometimes the statistics and the training and the tools to deploy, and knowing where to find those resources to get the help that, is sought after, and really breaking this stigma, this social stigma behind this umbrella of domestic violence. Too many of us have gone through it to not talk about it. And there's so many people going through it that they should know that just talking about it, the influx of help and support that will come their way. And that's really the gist of February being Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, and these teenagers not knowing how to identify it or where to go to talk about it and get the help that's needed for it. Natasha, I know you're at a university, so you deal with these adult students all the time. And many of these students coming straight out of high school, this is when they're able to identify that they were in a teen dating violence relationship, is when they are actually senior year to college years. It's very hard to identify when you're in it at that stage in that. So this is definitely something that I hope we can get into the universities and the colleges to bring this awareness and get some of these students to really help spread the awareness amongst their peers.
Absolutely, I agree with you. The awareness is important to continue to keep speaking the message, right? You're not alone. And here's how you can come out. And when you're ready, it's always up to when somebody's ready. You guys just know that, right? You have to be intentional. You get to live your life. It goes very short. It's a very fast life, everyone. Dominate your dash. Don't discard it. Dominate it.
Oh my gosh. Yes, that dash has more weight and definition to everything else on that tombstone.
Please dominate it.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
No more domestic violence in it. Now you get to take that D and place it in a position of empowerment. You get to dominate.
That's right. And we have a takeaway for this evening or for this month, forevermore. I don't know how to say it right. We have a takeaway today that Nicole will talk about. It's the top 10 cyber dating rules that every teenager should know. And I think that parents of teenagers should know that as well. So I'm going to give the spotlight back to Nicole if there's no other questions or comments.
Oh, wow. Hey, you know what? What a great day. How awesome it is that what we did today and how we showed up for each other and to share this post-traumatic growth. And really, that is a top 10. Hey, you're not a GPS tracker, no sharing passwords, and love should be as good as Wi-Fi, right? It shouldn't be glitchy. It should work smoothly, and so should the relationships. And I know that even as we get older, we see it. You can rewind everything and come forward and see what happened and how is it. And it's a little light and it's a little fun to share, to say, hey, let's look at this from a reality space and laugh about some things that we can laugh about and we choose about, because laughter brings some momentum. It changes and you get that spark. It's not the fake laughter, but it's the true laughter, heart laughter, to be able to say, hey, yes, we can move forward and change that energy. And so thank you for coming here today, folks. Healthy Hearts, Healthy Futures. We'll have the recording up on the CDV YouTube channel within this next week. And we want to just thank you for being part of the Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month and Prevention Month. We were able to get some information out there and share this with people and share that LinkedIn post. Agape and I were on Dr. Leland's show this morning, several hours ago, and sharing the importance of it. And we shared today about Elizabeth Vargas's testimony, and so many beautiful testimonies from the people that joined us early on, and definitely from our speakers as well today, to say, hey, you see the difference in their tonality, you see the difference in their personality, the way they show up, and the way that these wonderful people talk today, and who they are. They're present in the room, and they're not speaking from a point of current trauma. They are speaking from that point of post-traumatic growth, and that's what we're doing. And in a few months, we're going to be doing another workshop, and we'll be raising some awareness for confronting domestic violence, and we will be putting a charge. So this was our first run. We're going to be starting to put some tickets out so people can come in here, and we are looking to raise awareness and raise some funds for confronting domestic violence. And what a better way for people to support it and take part of what's going on here and take part of the change and be the change by showing up. So we thank you. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to jump on the mic. Otherwise, thank you so much for being here today. Any last takeaways, Agape?
Last takeaways, say something, see something, say something. Feel uncomfortable, talk about it, share what you're going through with someone that you trust so you can get what you need. And I think Regina and Amani might have a question. I see them looking right into the camera. Is there anything you'd like to say or ask before we close up?
I just want to say that this is awesome. I'm sorry that I missed a majority of it, but what I did hear, I love to hear her story and the post-traumatic growth. I too am a survivor and an advocate. Anything that we can do to elevate our cause and to bring awareness and to help current victims and survivors, I'm all for it.
Thank you, Regina. That's another board member in the house. I see New Yorker too. Thank you for being here. And look at Regina. She is so committed. She's at work doing hair, okay? And she joined us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you for being a part of it. Thank you,
all right,
everybody, for
friend.
being here.
That's
Yes.
a wrap. Thank you for being here. And if you folks have anybody here, we can get together later. And absolutely, from the board members, we can hear some other information on what you would like to see and share and how we can get some outreach for people to show up, open up, and share with us and start to get those donations and do that. We'll also have summits that will come through. So look at that as well. And that is part of those summits that I'll be hosting. We'll share that for a cause marketing, which means that a portion of the proceeds will go to confronting domestic violence. And that's the easiest way I thought, hey, to raise awareness and to help raise some funds as well. And so if we all start propelling that and putting that out there, that people that get a VIP ticket to the summit can not only get the replay, but they'll be able to share and donate to confronting domestic violence. Otherwise, thank you folks so much for being here. This is amazing. It worked out. Our test run went well. No major glitches, huh?
Super exciting. Yes. Thank you so much, Nicole. You are a super house, super powerful woman. Thank you very much for having the ability and desire to put this together.
Awesome sauce. All right, folks. Thank you. Happy Valentine's Day. Lots of love, virtual hugs and kisses and all that fun stuff.
Be safe.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Stalking isn't just a violation, it's a theft of peace, safety, and freedom. But here's the truth. Survivors are not defined by their trauma. They are defined by their strength. At Confronting Domestic Violence, we empower survivors to rise above, offering resources, education, and advocacy to help them not just survive, but thrive. This Stalker Awareness Month, it's your turn to make an impact. Your support fuels the movement to create a world where every survivor knows they're never alone. Let's rewrite the story. Visit and donate today. Together, we're not just raising awareness, we're building a legacy of empowerment.
Our mission at Confronting Domestic Violence is to provide real-time resources to victims and offer relocation services when parents have a safe place to go and not the means to get there. Countless families wake up in fear, navigating a battleground in their own home, trapped in a cycle of violence. It is a known fact the most dangerous time for a victim is when the abuser knows they're leaving right up to the point of leaving. The biggest challenges a parent faces is fear and finances. While we aim to help numerous families each month by fostering multi-agency collaborations, we're humbly asking you for your support. Every little bit helps to make our mission a reality for families ready to leave their toxic, abusive environment. No parent should have to leave everything behind or resort to homelessness. Your contribution can make a world of difference in offering a family to feel safe at home